This broadcast will start in 60 seconds. This broadcast will start in 45 seconds. This broadcast will start in 30 seconds. This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
KXVS on 92.1 coming soon. KXVS.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, The Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Hello, welcome to The Voice of Stockton, KXVS 92.1. And on a Saturday, I am so honored to have Julie Dameron, who is running for supervisor, and I'm really honored to come to the show and present. So Julie, welcome.
Thank you, Doug. I'm really honored that you asked me here today. You and I are good friends for a long time. We're Lions, although we're in different clubs, and both very strong community advocates. I love that you fight every day for rights for disabled. You fight for rights for everyone and for equality in general, and I just respect you so much, and so I'm really honored to be here today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate. Yeah, it's true. You know, the Lion is so tremendous. It has been a forceful club that do a part of the community service, outreach, and everything. And that's the only way that we serve the community. We call it the thing we serve.
We serve, and not only do we serve, but the Lions, as you know, but our viewers may not know, also are very strongly working to help people that are visually and hearing impaired as well.
Yes, that's the thing. Lion, you know, I do agree that Lion has support the visual impairment a lot. You know, refurbish glasses. They go out and help the community with glasses that can afford it and everything. And like that is a good program and good project. I mean, so it's really awesome as well. So now to get to the nitty gritty of things. Why you're, you know, I know that, what district are you running?
I'm running for District 4.
You're running District 4, and can you tell them for the viewer that may not know where the District 4 may be at?
Yes, so District 4 goes all the way up to the north part of our county. So areas that you might be familiar with would be Acampo, and then it goes down through Lodi. And to the east down, we've got Lockford, Linden, and all the way through Ripon. So it basically touches the top and the bottom of the county for the most part.
So it's almost like a rural agriculture community in that area, right?
Yes, very heavy farming.
So now that's a good thing, because just tell me about how you became a vet. I do believe that that's part. You know, they have cow, they have sheep, they have chicken, and did you go in there and see how they're going and give service, things like that?
I don't now, but I have in the past. When I was at UC Davis as an undergrad, I was actually living at the dairy as a herdsman for 2 years. I also was a goat herdsman, so many people don't know that at all about me. When I went to vet school, I thought that I wanted to be a dairy vet, and I decided that I didn't want to be out driving around going to see my patients, I decided that I preferred to have my patients come to me, and I changed to small
Hold on.
animal.
I got my hearing just popped. So. Sorry about it.
That's okay. Are you all right?
Yeah, my hearing just popped.
Okay. All right.
Anyway,
So I decided in vet school that I preferred doing small animal, and that's what I've done. I've worked actually all over the county as a small animal vet, and more recently I changed to emergency because I felt I could really be there when animals and people were in need. But I do have a strong background in agriculture. UC Davis, our nickname is Aggies, because we are so founded in agriculture. And where I live, we actually farm, we grow hay, and I do have horses. And I do feel that I have a good understanding of farming in general and some of the concerns. Right now, most people are probably not aware. When they think of crime, they think of cars being broken into and things like that. But the average farmer on a routine basis deals with vandalism. People come on their property and damage equipment or steal equipment. They steal produce, and then they also dump garbage and furniture, and it's an ongoing issue that farmers are dealing with all the time. And that's something that I would like to see, if I have the opportunity to become a supervisor, to unite farmers more, to work together to fight that, to also have sheriffs and other volunteers drive through farming areas more to help prevent that, and also to raise the fees on those crimes so that if people are caught, that it's a stiffer penalty, so that we have fewer people that are looking at that as a crime that they want to commit.
oh wow, that's a solution that everybody are not aware of that, but you don't hear that all the time in the news. You know, I think the farmer kind of be out in the wilderness and they're never covered. But this recently, that somebody stole, was it a cherry tree?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like with the 20 cherry trees that they just planted and then they removed it. And that, to me, that's somebody's property. That's somebody
That's their livelihood.
Yeah, their livelihood, and they're the one that in the business that they could put food in our home. You know.
Yes.
And I do agree that what's not yours, I mean, you need to respect that. And I know there's survival of hunger and money and issues like that, and that's not a way of going about the wrong way, you know. So
Definitely.
I do believe that farmers do not get that recognition. They don't get that respect. You know, they don't get that thank you, like, hey, thank you for being part and putting food in our table, anything like that. I definitely think that it's a very important thing in your district to have that recognition for that reason. And I'm glad that, you know, they'll be educated if you are running for office, because then you're going to say, look, this is what I represent, this is my constituent, and this is what they need. And also, even though the drought, you know, right now we're going to go through another drought because we haven't had rain that much.
And water is a huge issue.
Yeah, so tell me about that.
Water is a huge issue. I do want to go back to one thing that you just said. The fact that farmers are not always supported is a reason that we used to have 60,000 acres of asparagus growth in our area, and now it's down to less than 2,000. A lot of that is due to imported food and regulation and cost of labor. For asparagus specifically, it's very manual labor intense, and for asparagus to be gathered and packaged, at least 12 different people are handling that produce. So that's a lot of labor cost. And it's sad, and this is the reason that many farmers have sold their property to be used for other things, or are not farmers any longer, but they're doing something connected to the agricultural business, such as banking for farm loans and things like that. But water is a critical issue for everyone in our community, and we need to look at as many ways as possible that we can store water. We want to look at underground storage. We want to look at above ground storage. We want to look at better ways to use water, such as drip systems, so that we're conserving it as much and recycling it as much as possible. And I also would like to see parts of our county work together to see if we can get more water coming to our community instead of going to other areas as well.
So that is a vital issue with hydro water. Have any farmer and anything that other went in that ripping from north and south that come to you and said, this is our problem. This is what's going on.
Yes.
Can you help me with this problem?
Yes.
Can you they're not listening. So what is that? What would it take to save water? Because I know that when the ice melt, they're gonna have to divert the water somewhere else. So instead of diverting the water to salt water, down to the salt water, they should go to the agriculture.
Yes, and we at one time were supposed to have more above ground water storage. We had plans in place. It just never went forward. A lot of the farmers are still very, very concerned about the tunnels, and even though the plan is now to go to one tunnel instead of two, it still is going to take a huge amount of water from our community. It still will do a lot of environmental damage to the Delta. It still has a strong potential to salinate our water. And I'm very strongly against any plan that involves the tunnels and taking water out of our area. And that plan, to me, doesn't make any sense because there's no new water that's going to be created with that. I really feel that cities that have the opportunity should be looking at salinization, desalinization, so that they can be independent and get more water using ocean water. That has worked in several European countries. They are doing that in Southern California as well, and that to me is a viable solution. I know there's concern over costs, but there's no way that it's going to cost as much as what the tunnels do. The two-tunnel plan was going to cost $16 billion. The one-tunnel plan is only slightly less at $12 billion. The desalinization plant,
okay, but people don't know about the tunnel. Mm-hmm. It's a redundant issue. It's a redundant. It's like I thought we already solved that problem. From the tunnel issue that we got. I know that there were. I think posters say stop tunnel, but right now Governor Branda is going to be on our last term. Who's going to take over that tunnel to make it happen? It's not going to. I don't think it's not going to happen because
that's not true. That's not true.
Oh, it's not true.
That's not true.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Because a lot of people are telling me that it will stop because that the one that wants to have the tunnel is Governor Brown.
That's not true.
That's not true. Okay.
So actually, Gavin Newsom recently spoke that he supports the idea of the one tunnel versus the two, because he looks at that as a compromise, and I don't see it as a compromise. It's still going to destroy so much of our area. And again, it's so cost prohibitive. Even the one tunnel is going to be $12 billion. The Los Angeles Metro Water District is fully prepared to pay for that because they want water down in their area, which I understand. But I don't understand why they're not taking a more realistic look at desalinization. The most recent plant that was put in Israel cost $500 million. So for the price of the one tunnel, you could have 24 desalinization plants. Israel is using 4 right now to be able to get the majority of their water. Other cities in Southern California are looking at this, and to me, I think that that's a much more practical option, much more environmentally sound, and you wouldn't have to worry about purchasing such a huge amount of right-of-way, taking homes out, and the destruction to our delta.
Okay, that makes sense, but have the farmer a farmer have a union and inject it? Did they have their own?
They have a farm bureau.
Filter?
The farmers have the Farm Bureau, which is their strong advocate for protecting them and trying to make sure that their issues are known and that their issues are getting resolved.
So have they been resolved since our former people that are currently running? Because I know that they were more concerned about rationing water than saving our crop. You know what I mean? So if we're having less water and reverting to South LA, is the farmer going to be able to have some water that reverts to their culture and run toward the delta?
We don't know. We unfortunately, with the tunnels, there's so much unknown, and some studies have been done, but there's not full studies done.
Okay.
But there's massive concern that having even one tunnel is really going to destroy the delta and take away a huge amount of water and really put us in a huge drought situation.
So what can they do? What can we do to prevent the farmer? Cause, people that are in the North Bay are very lucky to have a delta water in our midst, and yet rich people from the South Bay need to be proactive of planning water for themselves and have their own water main sewer, whatever needs to be done in order to pump water. I'm sure there's some ways of pumping salt out of water and put it into
desalinization.
Right.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Our area, because we're not quite so close to the ocean, is not really the best area. Southern California, it makes a lot more sense for them to be looking into the desalinization. But it's still possible that we could benefit from desalinization, but it's not as practical. It's not as functional. But the other thing that's sad, when you were talking about protecting the rights of our farmers, a lot of companies in Southern California have already been buying up land along the route where the tunnels would go. And to me, that shouldn't be allowed either.
So in other words, it's been it's more like they're gonna do it no matter what we say. No. And
well, we can fight it. We can continue to fight it. We need people speaking against the tunnels. We need to be united and prevent the land from being bought up and vote in people that are not going to support the tunnels.
So, but the thing is that what you're saying that the farmers that have access to the delta water, are they selling their land to the people that, like you said, is buying the land and because they're desperate. They have their livelihood is being stealed. People are being vandalized. Some are, the cost of labor or things like that. And then they decided, well, we need to go out of business because we're not making money.
Well, there are some farmers that have sold land, but I don't think it's specifically because of the delta issue.
Okay.
But the land that's being bought is more directly along the route of where the tunnels would go in order to prepare and pave a way for the tunnels.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Now, I know there's another topic that you want to touch on. You said that with the farm, you came from the agriculture about the farmer. And also you talk about the water issue. Now, I know that District 4 have the road, the safety of the road. Have had the road and have no the one-way, two-way lane, the highway. The agriculture, they have a bunch of dust, crops, things like that. It's all what do you call it? It's all what do you call that? Remember on the news they were talking about if you go to a farm and then you get a pile of dust, you get the virus and you get it on your lung.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. So have that during that agriculture. Is there any way of having like a widen the road, the safety of the road, or things like that?
To widen the safety of the road? It just depends on the area that you are talking about, but wherever you do that, someone has to pay for that.
Okay.
To widen the road, and where is that money going to come from?
Right, because I don't know, because I'm learning. I've never been an agricultural person discuss that issue of that district, because it's very new to me. So I want to point out that District 4 have not really had much of a done anything to cooperate with the Delta. I have not seen who I don't know who's your competitor, but have not been promoting agriculture on asparagus or a cherry or a thing like that. It's not aimed at discussing one of those meetings as well, and I think something like that needs to be educated, needs to be, because like you said, we're getting a lot of import, and you know what, some of the import I already don't trust. Those food administration, I think it's been compromised too.
It tastes different. Yeah. So on my show, I had the privilege of having a 4th generation farmer, the Zuckerman family, and they were talking about how it's almost completely a different product of asparagus that they're growing compared to what you can import. And if you think about it, here the regulations are so strong on what chemicals, what pesticides can be used. Compared to imported products, there's no regulation on what pesticide can be used. Our asparagus is much bigger, it's more succulent, and to me, I think the flavor and taste is outstanding. A lot of the Bay Area high-end restaurants will only purchase asparagus directly from local asparagus farmers here in the Delta because of the difference in the flavor. And what's unfortunate is a lot of the markets here are carrying the imported product. If you want locally grown asparagus, you have to go to Podesto's or Marina Market or Rinaldi's to be able to get, or directly from the farm to be able to get locally grown asparagus. In my district, though, we also have the wine industry. So we have Lodi.
Okay.
And Lodi now is a huge mecca for wine, and their wine is winning a lot more awards, which is exciting to see that our wine industry is on a comparable level with Napa. But I think that our
Napa?
Okay. That our wine growers are a lot friendlier than Napa or the Bay Area, and we have our wineries are all spread out throughout Lodi and beyond. Which I also think is nice, because then when you go wine tasting, you're not sitting on one main road and stuck in traffic like you are when you go to Napa. I don't know if that's been your experience when you went to Napa, that you're just sitting bumper to bumper because everything is clustered together.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's something that really the thing that agriculture is a used commodity for that reason. Like, I know different people, like keeping coming like Safeway or corporate try to help local farmer, but they're supposed to be like vendor or under contract with the difference between vendor and local, because the local are more expensive than the one with the one that
they're definitely more expensive. Yes.
So to me, it should be the other way around, because I mean, I don't understand why they would increase something that is local that will help their economy of work, and yet they're putting imported things that are really that's not even healthy to us.
And it's cheaper. So the imported product, usually the areas where it's imported from, the labor is cheaper, and so that's why it's less expensive for that product. Plus, they are able to use more pesticides, which enables them to grow more product as well.
Okay.
But my district, or District 4, has the same issues that other districts have as well in terms of crime, homelessness, there's concern over jobs, things like that. So all of those things are still the same.
So you think, so crime, so you mentioned, you touched the topic on crime also. We need to get on that. What can, like you said somebody, what would be different penalty of getting crime to violate farmer agricultural property?
Just to raise the fees.
Yeah, what kind of fee? Is that like a nuisance fee? Is it like a vandalism fee? What is that?
Well, stealing. Stealing. I mean, if you're it depends on what they did, whether they stole produce or stole equipment versus vandalizing. It just depends on what the charge
Got
was.
it. Okay.
But I do think that the penalties should be higher to try and have less incentive for someone to commit those crimes.
Okay, so you want a more standard in jail time as well as the cost of fine?
All of that.
All
of the above.
Okay.
Depending on the situation with jail space. But all of the above. Anything we can do. Again, I think having the farmers work together in kind of a neighborhood watch type scenario, which I know some of them are already doing, and I mentioned having more patrol by sheriffs and other community members. We could have volunteers patrolling too, just watching out. And I also think it's important that if people see activity that's suspicious, they should call it in, because it does no good if you see it but you do nothing about it.
So let me ask you this: so you, as supervisor, would whoever is elected sheriff, would you advise the sheriff to make a map? And I don't know how many. I don't know how many sheriffs are in the department. It could be like 500 or whatever, and you have to cover all the county level, like the Tracy, the Ripon. But I think they have to spread like 5 between each area, whatever district it's in, and just kind of watch, like you said, for vandalism or high crime and agriculture. To me, I believe that is important too. Also, we can't treat anything less that important or not important.
Yes.
I think those articles are very important. So, well, how would you tell them to watch out for those articles?
So that would be just through communication, but that's something STARS could do too. So STARS is the volunteer group that's associated with the sheriff, and it doesn't, it could be STARS that are patrolling, or we could have more volunteers patrolling through neighborhood watch.
What is that, like a private security company? Or
No. So STARS is a volunteer group that's associated specifically with the sheriffs.
Oh, okay.
And they have some training, and they can patrol as well.
Okay.
And they volunteer at a lot of county events. But that would be something to me that if there are not enough officers to patrol, that STARS could be utilized in that area, and we could form a more cohesive neighborhood watch as well, and have just regular citizens patrolling. It just depends on the need and the number of people that are willing to participate.
Let me ask you this: on your district, I'm not sure. Did they have like Comanche, or do they have water? Do they have reservoir and running in your district?
So there's not, but that is something that has been talked about, having a reservoir, if not within our county, near our county, as another way to help us with the water situation, so that we could have water stored. And to me, again, we need to look at above ground storage, we need to look at below ground storage, we need to look at recycling water, we need to look at using water more conservatively. It has to be a multi-pronged approach so that we are utilizing water and conserving it in the most effective ways possible.
Okay, great. Now, so tell me, what is your platform on your candidate? I saw your webpage. You had a lot to say, and I really appreciate it. You had a lot of information, and I do agree a lot of things that you said in that website. So tell me, what specifically, Jermaine, if you were elected, what would be your first thing duty you want to implement your policy?
So, I mean, there's several areas that I'm concerned about. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, that even though my district does have a lot of areas that are rural, there are still the same concerns with crime. There's still the same concerns with lack of jobs. My opponent actually feels there's too many jobs, and I feel that we need more high-paying, high-quality jobs in our area, but we also need citizens that are trained for those jobs. And to me, the better training that we can offer to our community, the better off that they are going to be. So So that also follows with education. And even though the Board of Supervisors doesn't have a lot of control over education, education is vital, because we want our students that are coming out of school, and we want our graduation rate to go up as well, but we want our students coming out of school to either be college ready, be prepared to start on a trades vocational program, or be prepared to just go out into the workforce. But the higher the skill level that they have, the better paying job they're going to be able to get. And that in turn is going to allow them to have more money for housing. And housing is another issue in our area. We do not have enough low-income housing. However, if we raise the bar on what our people are able to produce, the salaries that they are able to acquire, they are going to be able to pay for higher quality housing. But we still need more housing in our area, and I think that's also tied into our homelessness issue, because it's so expensive to live in our area and people can't afford it, and that is one reason that they do end up homeless. That's part of the problem.
Oh, you hit a nail on the head. I know there's always a talk about there's no land for development in Stockton, but yet in your area you have a whole wide of land, like Ripon, or there's another one. There's another one called.
So there's Linden, Lockford.
All those areas. I mean, they have a lot of vacant land, and they're good, well-developed housing built in there. And when I was working at the real estate agent to look for a home for my sister, the house, you could buy a house, almost $200,000 home in that area, and it's a small town. And and to me, it didn't make no sense. Why is that home somewhere on Lawford, out in the boonies, cost more with the price of home, and yet it's still high. But yet, in some time, they should have people that are farmers who work in the agriculture have some kind of lesser driven to drive there to work and come home instead of going through all the traffic. Where their location is this, I think that's a better way of having a farmer to subsidize housing in exchange for labor. Now like the immigration, people say that they're stealing our job. People that saying that they're stealing the agriculture job, that are the people that don't want to work in the job in the hot field or anything like that and making less money than the average person working in the restaurant. You know what I mean? But yet they provide people with farmer that pick and then and did a good job and show them the appreciation for less cost for their product. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
So let's go back first to the housing part of it.
Okay.
So the way that it's set up right now in the county, you are on a well system. So there aren't sewers. It's not the same as in the city. And there's typically a general plan. The majority of the housing is built in the cities, which are on sewer and water lines.
Okay.
And so that's by design, that in the county that you have a lot of open space. Our area is probably more because of the agricultural zoned areas. But you typically wouldn't have major housing complexes built out in the county. They would usually be in the city. However, just like in Stockton, there are areas where you can, if you want to build with what they would call it like a common sense or a goodwill, you would build with infill. So you would go and fill in the spots that are not currently being used for housing, or you would redevelop prior existing housing to improve it or expand it to allow more people to live there. In the county, you have houses, but it's usually individual houses on a larger plot of land. But it is with a well and septic system. It's not with sewer and water like we have in the city.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. A lot of people, would like to move out in the country too. Sometimes, some people like, like the Oscar, the front. They don't like to be in the city all the time. They want to be somewhere away from the city, so they have more quietness, more virtue, and things like that. And I definitely, I commend the farmer and get some more practical idea because, like you said, it creates jobs and it helps.
It's feeding our area, and it's feeding. We export a lot of food from our community as well, and our port is heavily involved with that. So it's huge commerce to our county all the way around.
Okay, now let me ask you this. So now we're getting close to our time on our show. So what would be the main factor? Why would people want to vote for you? Why?
That's a great
from
question.
The candidate?
So I think the main reason that people would want to vote for me is that I care. I'm extremely active in the community. I work with multiple nonprofits. I've also been working on the issue of homelessness for several years. Both my husband and I are members of the Homelessness Task Force. I self-started a vaccine clinic for the homeless that I do in coordination with Carrington Veterinary Technician School. And we go to St. Mary's, we go to Gospel Center Rescue Mission, and we recently started going in Lodi both to Salvation Army and Grace and Mercy. And a lot of the homelessness, a lot of the people that are homeless have animals, and often they will have multiple dogs. These dogs are their source of warmth. These dogs are their source of protection. These dogs are their source of unconditional love, and they have nothing, but they have their companion with them, and they don't want to give that up. And so to me, it's very valuable to ensure that these dogs are protected from parvo and distemper and rabies. And rabies is also an issue in terms of concern for spread to people. So I feel like that's important. I'm also a longtime Rotarian and a Lion. I serve on the board for the food bank. I'm also involved with Junior League and the radio station and the newspaper. I look at my role in the community is to serve in as many ways as I possibly can and to help make things better for others. And that's why they should vote for me. And also, I feel like as an emergency veterinarian, I am well aware of how to deal with multiple issues at once. I think quickly on my feet. And I also am willing to come up with multiple solutions so that if plan A and B don't work, I have plan C and D. If something is important, then we can find a way to fix it or to solve it.
Well, that's awesome. I do see that you are, I do see that you're a very supportive advocate. I see you doing a lot in the community. That is the fact I have to witness. I know you go from one event to another. It's wonderful. And not only that, I know that you're a very approachable person. A lot of people don't want to be approachable, but you're very approachable. People want to go to you and tell Julie, this is what's going on. Doctor. And when you're a doctor and you care about animal, and you care about your patient, you care about people, and you care about your community, and all that stuff is shown by what you're acting. Because my mom used to tell me all the time that you have the desire to do something, but you don't have the motivation. That's not going to do it. It's not going to help. So your action, your word, and your action speak for itself. And I do really appreciate you running for supervisor for help the animal, even with the animal, as you call it, the farmer. That is a great cause to protect them. I do. And I really thank Julie for. I want to thank Julie for coming down and to the radio and really understand where she's coming from and really working. I know she'll work hard for us. She's going to be a good representation with us people. So thank you for coming on my show, The Voice of Stockton, KXVX 92.1, The Voice of Stockton, the Vigil show. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
The The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the Voice of Stockton,